As this lockdown continues on and on, the film industry is really starting to crumble with the times. I kinda like all the chaos that's going on, admittedly, but man, it's getting harder and harder to find trailers to actually talk about. Obviously, everything that would be announced around about now is not getting announced, but for all the rest of it, there's one of two approaches being taken by the big executives. Either movies are being delayed entire years to the point that we'll probably have forgotten about them by the time they actually release, or films are being streamlined straight to our homes with very explosive results. Now, I know I wanted to talk about old trailers this week, but the selection is slowly dwindling out. You've got things like Tenet that are too original to really cover effectively, or films we may know but just have too little information to go on. And then sometimes you find the perfect film to cover, only to realize it's coming out in a few days. You'd better cover the whole damn thing in a review instead. So really, after going through my list of options, I was only really left with two. On the one hand, you've got Jungle Cruise, Disney's new original project, based off of a Disney ride and featuring The Rock in a jungle. Again, it seems like your basic adventure film and really doesn't blow me away in any capacity. But it's been delayed way back to July 2021, so there's not going to be any kind of follow-ups for a very long time. So turning to our other hand, we then have The Kingsman. Finally, some good content. Now, I very much know my Kingsman films, because there's only two of them, and hey, it's British, so I guess it's right up my alley. Now, Kingsman as a franchise is actually probably one of the most refreshing new IPs to be tackled in a long time. It's not simply another archetype of storytelling and another new world to expand and get invested in, but it actually stands on its own 2 feet and genuinely pushes the boundary of filmmaking in its own little way. Based off of the 2012 comic, Kingsman is a heightened kind of spy parody, or at least it certainly doesn't take itself 100% seriously with some of its theatricals. But even so, from a production standpoint, this film doesn't look like many other films, with the original particularly blowing audiences away through its action scenes alone, keeping that kinetic energy in the direction whilst fantastically presenting the line of action in the cinematography, and in some cases mashing it all together in one stitched together master shot that feels like a single take. Not to mention the actual content of these fight scenes and the story beats in general are just absolutely bonkers. So with Kingsman's inevitable 2014 success, it was pretty clear that this new world was gonna see a whole lot more expansions on the big screen. So now here we are 6 years later and with a slightly less optimistic head on all of our shoulders. Kingsman is still moving heads, but perhaps for not as much of the right reasons. The first film still holds up as its own masterclass piece of cinema, but as Kingsman has expanded more and more, the drive behind it seems to fall slowly more and more flat. Naturally, soon enough came a direct sequel to Kingsman with The Golden Circle, and really, that alone was all it took to truly shake the foundations of which this franchise was cemented on. The film was okay, but as a Kingsman movie, it really dropped the ball. Not standing anywhere close to the original and making some very strange decisions, introducing elements that effectively kill good storytelling with some magical serum that reverses death and a deus ex machina with no real supporting logic. And then there were the seemingly shady acts on the business side of things, marketing an actor as big as Channing Tatum all throughout the build-up, only to have him freeze away for most of the movie. Overall, fans were left unsatisfied through what lingered on and what was forgotten. All the while, the world of Kingsman continued to expand in a direction that wasn't as favourable to many. And now here we are with all sorts of developments in the works. Another sequel is of course being made, as one would expect, but beyond just that, there's also a whole spin-off based off of the American Institution introduced in the second film to really market more to that American audience, I guess, and maybe actually this time they could give us some Channing screen time. And then furthering on from that, we have the more recently upcoming project, The King's Man, taking us back to Britain in the early 1900s for a World War I period piece to explain the origin story that first set up the Kingsman. Now at this point, there's a lot more conflicting thoughts going on in fans' heads. To be fair, there's only been one bad film. Really, it's not that bad, and these films still have plenty of room to blow us away again like the original, but at the same time, all of these rehashes and spin-offs and expansions in the works truly starts to feel a little soulless. It almost seems to take away a little bit of magic to what the franchise has. sensationalizing it so that it stretches so far beyond what's expected, basically bleeding it dry for what it's worth because it hit so well the first time. Still, there's potential there, and with all these productions off in the distant future, let's look to the one place we can for some real information with the official trailers of Kingsman's origin story, The King's Man. Now, there are currently 2 trailers to bounce off of, and with a new release date of September 2020, we're probably not going to see that final trailer for a good couple of months. On top of that, honestly, these trailers feel awfully samey. Though, admittedly, I'll give it props for at least not spoiling a crazy amount of plot details, though that doesn't quite make my job any easier. Still, if you want to support me as I try my best anyway, do consider subscribing. And remember, only you can help combat my unbalanced unsubbed ratio. Now, the only real direct synopsis we have for this film is as follows. As a collection of history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds gather to plot a war to wipe out millions, one man and his protege must race against time to stop them. Seems fairly simple as a concept, but that does raise at least one question. Is this plot all to end World War I? Because unless history was rewritten, this is all going to be about a failing mission, right? Unless it's secretly something bigger? Or it's just how to end the war? I don't know. Well, opening up all the actual trailers doesn't really explain all too much beyond it just being an adventure set during the ongoing war. Still, I'll do my best to piece it all together. So right off the bat, there are none of the original cast making an appearance in this film. Sure, it's a bummer for some, but this is a solid 100 years back. The most we'll get is a flash-forward finale scene or something. Though actually, on that point, a couple of characters will have similar names to what we know, as code names for agents are passed along, and always named after the Knights of the Round Table. So code names Arthur and Lancelot will be seen anew. Actually, even that's not the whole truth. Apparently, despite this clear time skip, there's replacement castings for both Lee Unwin and Chester King, who you might remember as Michael Caine from the first movie. And considering his name is Conrad, same as this little guy here, I guess they're suggesting this is actually his origin story. Wow, he's old. On top of that, many real-life counterparts are appearing in this film, only really previously done with an Obama lookalike and Elton John. This franchise is weird. Still, this time our most noteworthy characters are the Duke of Oxford and Conrad as the new mentor and newbie, as well as supporting spies Polly and Shola. Shola? Shola. I'm gonna say Shola. Sounds more British. And then for the historic ones, we've got the likes of Senior Officer Haig, played by a recognizable face and titled with the Arthur codename apparently. There's George V, Wilhelm II, and Nicholas II, all cast as one person and all featured in this one photo? Huh? It's just that guy. Gotta love weird casting updates. Oh, and Rasputin! Kinda hard to miss that one there. So both trailers start with this desolate sunset on the battlefield, clearly right in the center of the World War, as Conrad runs with a de-limbed soldier on his back. He's your classic youthful kid in the middle of his times. While Eggsy was a chav, this guy's just another soldier, but his bravery surely puts him in people's eyes. Here's a look at our baddie, Mr. Bold. I don't actually know his name, but his location is pretty easy to spot. It's dark, dusty, and with a big old projector in the room. Here it is again with its own kind of round table of goons. Presumably, these are the tyrants and masterminds plotting the war together. And I may be looking into this a tad much, but these characters all look like they're from separate origins, suggesting this isn't simply one country plotting a war, but it's more of an orchestrated plan against everybody for their own ulterior motives. I don't know, selling war weapons or something. Here's a shot from the outside showing it's just a shed, and another from Mr. Bolt. Was he just in fencing gear just now? Naturally, once finding this place, a blade fight ensues, and we get to see a hint of new gear with a weird gun-sword hybrid, crashing us through the wall and onto the grass, where fittingly, this action scene lines up quite nicely. Okay, so that seems like a piece of one mission, potentially failing if the group has already evacuated. Let's go to this ballroom scene with Rasputin. With him being a friend of the Russian monarch, he's all up in that noble life. But of course, the niceties don't last too long, as we see around this time, Conrad being given a gun, Rasputin getting into quite the table blade fight with Conrad on the floor over to the right, only for him to eventually get up and shoot at him from afar. Though there is also this other shot in the mansion with Polly, so maybe she's the one to do the deed. There's also a shot of him right in front of a frozen pool. Rasputin was also known for being hard to kill, taking many wounds in his time. Maybe this is just another attempt. Though he was found in a river. There's also the rumours that British intelligence were involved with his death, which certainly fits the theme here, though how serious this film is actually going to play out is kinda hard to tell. These trailers look pretty serious, and though I'd love for some doofy rah rah Rasputin music going on in there, my dreams probably won't be met, you know? Just doesn't feel tonally right. Moving on, we're back to the battlefield with several seemingly separate moments, but I'll mash them all together here. So first we've got this decorative skull, cute. There's an over-the-shoulder shot of someone shooting over no man's land in the rain, a weather I don't think we see in another shot in the trailers. We've got cannon fire, or I guess a type of mortar strike, with someone who looks pretty important, someone being blown into the trench, soldiers digging their own graves, how wholesome, and a whole lineup of soldiers all running out directly to their deaths, which was very much a real bonkers strategy enforced by Douglas Haig. It didn't work. And speaking of, hey, here he is in the flesh. Right around this scene of British officials setting up their war strategy. And with him being a member of the King's Man, as codename Arthur, perhaps he is somehow a good guy. Or his war decision here strips him of that title. After all, if this is the same Conrad, then he'll be later adopting the Arthur codename. Though I guess maybe Haig could die of old age later, who knows. Anyway, one such fellow in the room here is this guy, so far unnamed, so I'm gonna call him Monocle Guy. We see a tad more of him here in this factory where the production of poisonous gas shells are being produced en masse. Just another evil cog in the wheel of war. And someone's also creating a ticking time bomb, I think. Perfect for assassinations. And his gas work clearly makes a mark, as a whole other scene depicts several gas masked soldiers attacking in the night. We've got fires, explosions, almost flares, and straight up knife gunfights. But that's not as interesting as actual Kingsmen doing actual Kingsman-y things. So here's the Duke of Oxford, is there really no other name for him yet? In a jail cell, easily making his escape with a simple cane. Conrad, or at least someone with very similar clothes to him, is being hung up, but judging by this standalone shot, the Duke probably just cut him down. How chivalrous to not use the lethal part on all these guards. We haven't heard from Shola in a while, so here he is propelling himself up onto a mountainous edge and slicing at his target. Maybe it's this guy? I can't really tell, but I assume the Kingsmen are all splitting up to take out each of these guys at the table in separate missions. Maybe. How'd he actually get here is a bit hard to grasp at first, but actually it makes total sense. This rope mechanic up here seems to suggest that this spot here is the base of the mountain, though it's the Duke we see later scaling up the mountain. Maybe it's a charming race with one cutting the rope to propel themselves up and another climbing. Or it's just another mountain entirely. I mean, the Duke's one looks a lot more icy. Still, propulsion physics are the thing that gets Shola up here. Kinda cool. Polly gets a little less screen time, seen here showing off her combat skills with a distracting red cloth. And here she is in a shed full of cheese being shredded up by a new machine gun. This is also the room where the two find out about the new parachute technology. Where that parachute scene takes us, I have no idea. It's another mountain. Beyond this point, there's not as much to grasp onto for information. There is that one scene that looks like the assassination of the Archduke of Austria, Franz Ferdinand, which the Duke was apparently there for, and would line up with the concept of trying to avoid the war, but clearly it's still happening. Maybe it's a failed flashback that started this whole thing. After that, there's only really 3 more scenes that really stick out. There's this one of a vault full of gold, which is maybe being taken by Mr. Monocle to fund his factory? I mean, you can't really tell who's coming in, but it kinda looks like him. There's Rasputin coming out of a massive door and holding a dead child with froth in his mouth. Maybe it's a failed assassination attempt on him, and later threatening said attacker with a hostage, perhaps. And then there's a calm train scene with the Kingsman Agency as they prepare for wherever they're going. After that, there's really nothing poignant enough to say about the shots anymore. A lot of the content is pretty clearly the standard Kingsman in training art, which we've already seen from the first film, so I don't really need to explain all of that. And after that, it's just one-offs. Here's Conrad on the battlefield at night seeing flares, here's some random gas mask shots, Rasputin in a church before discovering the boy, I guess. Here's accessories, lovely on your finger. Soldiers-to-be are sitting in a church, landing at the mansion via a plane because people are rich. Here's some soldiers marching. Oh my god, it's the government's office. Wow! This film really doesn't like telling us much, does it? Good on them. Now, I'm curious to see how this film actually turns out, because these 2 trailers really don't paint a massive picture. I mean, I may be biased, but being British, There's a lot of war films to consume, so to me, it's certainly not the most exciting thing to watch anymore. And personally, the best parts of Kingsman to me are the theatricals and goofiness of it all at times. This looks serious, and anything eccentric seems to be rooted in realistic physics. Who knows, maybe it's a great balance and exactly my kind of tea. We don't get to see all too much of the action scenes, so I guess it's anybody's guess really. From the sounds of it, it seems like many people feel conflicted, with some saying that a cast without Eggsy feels very un-Kingsman, and others saying that this is fantastically refreshing compared to the sameness of the direct sequel. And hey, when I first heard the pitch of Kingsman in World War I, admittedly, I got quite excited with the idea of seeing fight scenes of history play out more chaotically Kingsman. So I guess it all just remains to be seen. And we better get used to prequels, cause right now, we're in quite the industry-wide phase of it all. The Kingsman has a lot of potential running behind it, but an awful lot of concerns as well. Some of its decisions are weird and unexpected, but being so outstandingly different is just what made the original so golden. So let's just cross our fingers and hope for the best. And if it turns out bad as well, at least we've got plenty more productions in development as well. Hooray for greedy executives. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let's see how well placed my skepticism is. For now, my name's been Daz. You didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit. This will now be my second live-action trailer cover this year, and Free Guy really blew me away, so maybe you'll see more mature-ish content like this popping up more. We'll see.